Hi there, this is not a loop, but it's just a return journey that links our Barla route and those that are upstream of Dolgethley. So as you can see here, it's not over long. It's only 17-18 miles. It's got 1,300 feet of climb, but it's not that hard. And so we start in the top of the screen that you can see here, and we head south west, and as we go through we start off in some farm, and you can see that this is the up and down route. The main road between Rhydymain and Dolgethley is pretty flat, but this one goes through the hills, but it's quite pretty, but the road surface is fairly dire in the first part, where you can see the route appears to be double during that bit. That's because we were off piste. So if we follow this route along, where we're going to end up is this crossing, this lake here. We didn't go any further because it was getting late, but you can see the route that goes over the A487 or under the A487, and that is your trip off to the other directions. But it's a lovely little journey, really. It's quite nice to do. So we set off from the farm we were staying at just outside Rhydymain, called Tykerrig, and heading up, there's forestry to one side. Don't go up, go through the farm instead, and you can see it had been raining heavily, hence those streams at the beginning were just bursting. And now you can see that we are heading along a pretty rough farm track, the same one that we did in our very first trip into Dolgethley. This follows the same first part of that track. So as we head up, we're going uphill, you'll see there's quite a lot of gates, and then this is the bit where it starts to change, because we're heading towards a group of houses in the distance, and this farm here, which has got a lot of gates on it, mined out for the cattle and the sheep. But as we get up to here, then we actually get onto proper tarmac road. And we follow this along. There are not so many gates now. Mostly what we're going to encounter is cattle grids. We continue to head up, and although it doesn't look particularly steep on here, those of you with electric e-bikes will certainly welcome that electric assist. We head up, and it's fairly peaceful here. We didn't really meet any other traffic. Once we did this and we encountered a post office van, but as you can see, cattle grids most of the way, and very quiet and peaceful. Now I think this was a Sunday, so maybe it was a bit quieter then, but there was virtually no farm equipment out. And now we're leaving the estate and we're heading out, continuing on towards the towns at the top. Somebody else held the gate open for us because they were going through past these farms. Fairly dark, and you can see a load of walkers that are returning along. Now as we turn left here, this is on the main road that is sort of heading towards it's probably the old main road into Dolgethley, and it goes through some lovely little places. We go over the river, which is a nice place to stop actually. It's quite pretty, but we're still climbing. You can see that, and as we head up towards the top of the hill, the views open up, and it's pretty impressive actually. Definitely recommend this. But you can see a young cyclist shot past us on the way. In fact, there were a group of kids finishing their Duke of Edinburgh award. I think those ones we saw back there, and at one point we go past their parents up here. But we're still following the farms and still rising up. But you can see the road surface is pretty good here, and it's much nicer than the main road, which, although that's fast, and maybe those of you that love road cycling, that wouldn't bother you too much, but it certainly bothers us. We'd rather be at the top here. That's a group of parents on the corner waiting for their DOV kids to arrive back. And you can see down here, not a lot of passing spaces, the odd car which you will encounter, and now it starts to open up. Past those houses we stopped at once before for a drink, and now we're going to drop down towards Dolgethley. through the little villages over the top. Not a great deal of pedalling on this bit. You'll find that the descent will carry you most of the way. Sun was beginning to get a little bit low in the sky, but back over the river again. Wonderful place to stop there actually. It looks great for a picnic and a walk, but we weren't able to. Quick cut through, that's the old road, and then we have to cross the main road there into Dolgethley, and now we're following some back roads. So this is similar to the path we took before, but later on we're going to turn left where previously we'd turned right. So there we go. We're now heading up the hill, and you can see it starts to ascend again, and this was really, really steep. And this is the bit where we leave, which we've not done before. Really lovely panoramic view from the top here. So as we pass across the top of the hill, you can get some fantastic views between the trees. And that's what we did. We stopped at this point. Not for long, I hope. And off we go. It's not long before you get over the top here. There was a small bridge that, if I remember, that we had to cross at some point. A footbridge. Maybe that's not just yet. I love the views, and I must admit, on a warm summer's evening, even though it's been raining, this was good. So we enter the farm here. And then we turn right. Now there's a few here, and then we end up with something that's not much more than a footpath. I think it was once an old railway line, and it just heads along here. But this is the final bit. It heads us towards the lake that's at the end. But it goes on for a reasonable distance, and it's not too bad a surface, but there are a few big rocks. So there's the little bridge you have to cross over. It's a little bit narrow. You may be confident to ride her through, but I think we pushed. A quick left turn there, back into the farm, and here we descend around, past some farm equipment, and we're at the lake, which is just a little tiny reservoir. And you can see in the distance the hills. That's over towards Caderidris. Very pretty. And at this point we had a bit of lunch or snack, and then we turned around and went back. So at this point I'll just leave you with following back. I've speeded it up a little bit more just so that you can see the route from the other direction, but it's just literally a return on the same trip. Whilst you're watching this, it would be really nice if you could not only subscribe to this channel, which would help us to raise the publicity and raise awareness, but also if you like it, click the little thumbs up. That would be really helpful. We are Paul and Diane on the Tandem on the Commute route, and you can download a GPX if you want to follow our route in a little bit more detail. So that's a great place to go, to our Commute, Paul and Diane on the Tandem. And there's a link in the description underneath here. But what we're trying to do is to document as many routes that are suitable for people like us, which is we're in our 60s and we have a tandem, but you could do this on any road or gravel bike, and it's just short routes, generally about 20 miles. So those of you that are less confident at doing the distance, 20 is great on an e-bike, and for those of you that are more confident, some of our routes are as long as 40, 45. But generally they've got a bit of hills. We like interesting countryside, so do feel free to travel with us. There's lots, so hunt through the list of routes that we've got for you. We're not actually far off going back, so we'll be there soon, turning into the main part of the estate. Actually the ride home I thought was quite pretty. I think I prefer it going in this direction. So yes, feel free to sign up and put a comment in the description below for anything you like, and I'll post this video on the commute list as well. But thank you for joining us, and certainly if you've got any questions or other places that you'd like us to visit or some suggestions, do add them to the comments and we'll pick these up and we'll try and get back to you. And we're adding various, so that there are about 7 routes here in Snowdonia. This is where our chain fell off. It's a fairly new bike, and I had failed to adjust the chain before we set out that day. We adjusted it later. Didn't realise quite how slappy it had got, quite slack. Yeah, you can see this bit is pretty rough, but it's a descent, so it's not that hard. And now we're just about home. I think that's the last gate, down past a bit of forestry and background to our caravan at the end. Okay, so that's the route, that's where you can find us. You'll see the export to GPS device over there on the right hand side, and there's a few details about it, and we hope you follow us. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next ride. The final one is a trip, Snowdonia is a trip around Lake Rhydymain. I can't pronounce it. I ought to try, I suppose, and look it up. Anyway, I could go on forever. Thanks. Okay, see you in the next ride. Take care. Bye.